movie.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan Cam, and welcome to The Road to James Gunn's Superman. That movie is myself, Jacob Collins, and Matt Wyatt's collective most anticipated movie of 2025. So, yeah, we're covering all the Superman movies. And since there are less of them than, say, a Batman, for example, this is going to be kind of a monthly thing leading up to James Gunn's Superman. But I'm greatly looking forward to it. It's going to give me the excuses I've been looking for to rewatching these movies, and I'm greatly looking forward to it. But Jacob Collins, Matt Wyatt, you guys are joining me for this road. How you doing?
Dude, I'm very excited to revisit and talk about in the retrospective Superman the movie. I grew up watching the Donner's movie, but before I watched the Donner film, I remember my uncle showed it to me on the VHS tapes. I was like, "Wow, this is so good to see this in live action." When I watched the Superman the animated show from the 90s. And I one time did dress up as Superman when I was 6 years old as I was watching the movie, doing a reenactment, taking flight, because I was so like moved by that film, and it made me really feel connected to Superman. And a lot of you already know that Superman's always been my favorite superhero. I've already told the story a million times how much I really connected with his story, how relatable he really is, and seeing the Christopher Reeve Superman the movie, they really Christopher Reeve captured that spirit of making us believe that a man can fly, and he really captured the spirit of the character in the comics.
I was not a Superman fan growing up. Okay, like I will admit that when I was a kid, I see when I was in Head Start, I watched like on TNT they used to have Lois and Clark, The Adventures of Superman, and so I watched that, and I thought honestly I did not know it was Superman, and I just knew Dean King was like, oh, he wears a suit, and every time he wears a suit, he has superpowers, but when he doesn't have the suit, he's not superpowered. And when he got shot, I'm like, one time I remember he didn't have the suit on, he's dead. Oh my God, they need to have the suit on. You know, since I was a little kid, didn't know it. And I wasn't really like, I really did not like Superman and stuff growing up. And even though I watched the animated series, I wasn't a fan until I started watching Smallville. And then Smallville kind of really hooked me on Superman, which we do small talks every Tuesdays. Plug, plug. And so basically, yeah, we did. So basically, I watched Superman Smallville, and then for 2009 for Christmas, I got Smallville season 8, and then I had like my mother had got me the Superman box set. You know, like it came with like the DVDs of the four film favorites is what it's called, where it came with Superman 1, Superman 2, Superman 3, and Superman 4. And then she also bought me Superman Returns to go with the set. And I remember watching it, and I love Superman 1. I'm like, this is so good. And then Superman 2, I'm like, it was a little campy. But then Superman 3, I thought it was way, way, way campier. And then like I'm like, but I did love it because I'm like, Superman's a dick in this movie. He's just a straight dick. He's just like an asshole. like,
And
you
then
He's
know, and then
drinking liquor
Superman
at a
4.
bar, so angry, and his suit's all faded and
yeah.
discolored.
Yeah.
And then
So Superman
Superman
4.
4 is god awful, but we will get to that.
Yeah. And then Superman Returns, I was like, I just never liked it because I'm like, it's so boring. He just flies around, does nothing. He stalks Lois Lane is the only thing he really does in the movie, besides a few minor action sequences. All he does is stalk Lois Lane, watches her while she's sleeping. He's like, yeah, hi Lois. And I'm like, why couldn't they made a $200 million movie. Why couldn't they punch something? You know, it's like Smallville has better story. Smallville has a better story and better action. In this,
We'll get to Superman Returns. Right now, we're talking
yeah.
about the first
And
Superman
I'm
movie.
watching. So then Man of Steel finally came out, and I was like everything I wanted. It was a dark, gritty. I want because after the Dark Knight, everybody wanted that dark, gritty Superman. So that was my answer, and I'm like, I got that Superman. And then Batman versus Superman came out, and I was kind of a little bit bummed because it was not what I wanted it to be. And then Justice League came out, and that's another story and stuff. And so when I've always said, you know what, I would like to go back to classic Superman, with a modern update that has an entertaining story, and hopefully it's not like Superman Returns. And so I really enjoy. I'm really looking forward to this movie because this will be the first time. 'Cause this is like going to be the first Superman movie that's called Superman. That's not called like Superman Returns because Superman Returns came out in 2006. That was the last time the movie that was called Superman. What I mean, not including Batman versus I'm saying as a solo Superman movie that has a Superman title in it.
Well,
So I,
the working title for James Gunn was called Superman Legacy. Then he had to change
yeah.
the official title, which makes sense.
Yeah, but we're
Um,
going to get to all of that and more throughout this road too. So like, subscribe, do the thing. We would greatly appreciate it. But without any further ado, let's get into the one that started it all, just called Superman. This was released in 1978. It was directed by Richard Donner. It was written by Mario Puzo, who is best known for writing the book The
The Godfather.
Godfather. So, and he also wrote the screenplay for a movie called Patton, which I like, but that's another story for a whole nother time. This is the one that started it all. And Superman was in the public conscious by the time 78 rolled around. You had comics, of course. You had the Richard Fleischer animated shorts, which if you have not seen those, see those. They are incredible. Like even to this day, the animation still kicks all kinds of ass. But as far as a live action movie goes, there had not been one since the George Reeve days. So there had been a bit of a drought. And so one of the things that I personally found fascinating was that among others who were approached to direct this movie included Steven Spielberg, George Lucas, and Francis Ford Coppola. Now, it's in my research I found that George Lucas actually turned down the job because he was working on a little movie called Star Wars. Some of you may have heard of it out there. And also Spielberg was just way too busy from what I could look up and read. So it eventually fell to Richard Donner, and it was a struggle and a half working on this movie, and especially into Superman 2. But me in the future play the in the business we call this foreshadowing clip.
In the business, we call this foreshadowing.
But to make the long story short, this was far from an easy movie to make. Christopher Reeve was told that it would be the death of his career because he was supposed to be a professional actor. He was going to a professional acting school, and the movie made $300 million. It was one of the highest grossing movies of that year. And whenever a new Superman movie gets made, it is inevitably compared to this one. I'll be the first to say that there are parts of the movie that I think haven't aged the greatest, especially the effects, which we'll get into. But the clips I rewatched for this movie, I absolutely loved. And I think that this movie, being almost 50 years old, 45, 50 years old, just past 45, I think a lot of it still holds up really well.
I think honestly, it is a movie that really does capture the ability. 'Cause I remember whenever people always talk about Superman the movie, they always talk about the term "you will believe a man can fly," and I think that really does show you that when you watch this movie. This movie is absolutely a movie that most people would, in fact, probably like tell their kids, their grandkids to go see this movie because I think a lot of people will probably say that, hey, you should go see this movie because Superman is a movie that has it's a love story. It is a comic book movie. It is even if you take the comic book step aside, it is a story literally about a man finding out his true who he truly is, and then he decides to be like be the savior to the city. And then on top of that, a man who literally feels like he's betrayed by the city. He wants to basically be on top, so he wants to try to destroy the city so he can be on top, while a man who could be on top decides to save the city and work beneath the city.
Yeah, originally this movie was supposed to be, and we were talking about the campiness of the later sequels. This was supposed to be even campier than it was, and come to find out, this was supposed to have a cameo from Telly Savalas, who was supposed to be playing Kojak. So in 78, like they were going like the tongue-in-cheek route already, when in reality, like they just should have gone the earnest route. They did, and it served the movie better for it. But the movie starts out pretty hot with the I say hot because it's a cold planet, but it starts with the disruption of Krypton, or Krypton, as Marlon Brando so called it, and that didn't totally get annoying whatsoever.
Is that because of his accent? Is that why they call like from if what I don't know what kind of was he just an American or something?
I don't know, but I think we had reached the point where Marlon Brando just stopped caring, like just about everything.
But also he got paid more than the rest of the cast members of Superman because he's Marlon Brando. He was coming off of the Godfather movie and he was already a big star at the time and they went and got him for the role and he's only there for like 10 minutes of the movie.
Yeah,
Also, do you know that he read a lot of his lines on cue cards? Because he
Yeah,
didn't,
he
he didn't
did.
bother
Yeah, he
rehearsing.
read a lot of cue cards in that movie.
He did the same thing for The Godfather, and come to find out, I looked up the exact figure. It was around $19 million that Brando was paid for this. And he wanted to use his fame for this to pitch a mini series about Native Americans in the style of Roots. And I don't think that ever saw the
Oh, wow.
light. So Brando was on.
Isn't he the same person? Isn't he the same person that got it? He didn't want to accept his award for playing an Indian, so he got like a Native American woman to accept his Oscar, and then everybody booed her off stage.
It was The Godfather. He won the Oscar for that, and this random Native American woman goes up and is like, the plight of the Native Americans, and like John Wayne was booing, and like people were just not happy about it. Like Bill Maher, God bless him, he had the best joke. Is like Brando didn't send that woman up there to have a statement. He sent her up there because he could not stand up out of his chair because he was fat as Steve. But
He's like, I need a
Yeah.
hamburger.
Like, I need a hamburger. Give me nothing.
Now, by the way, have you ever watched? By the way, I don't know if you've ever. This is a lot of talk about. Have you ever watched the documentary, the Island of Lost Souls? Or no,
No.
not the Val, no, the Val Kilmer documentary, Val,
Yeah,
where he
yeah.
literally describes his experience on the island of Dr. Monroe, and he's trying to ask Marlon Brando, "Hey, Marlon," because it wouldn't even show up on set some days, and so Marlon's sitting there in like one of those hammocks, just raw. He says, "Hey, Marlon, who inspires you as an actor?" And Val Kilmer's just sitting there with a video camera asking him this, and then he just goes, "Rock me, dear, rock me." And so Val Kilmer pushes him, and then he just goes to sleep.
So I want to talk about the opening with the John Williams theme. Like that was iconic to watch. Like imagine watching this in the cinema. That's just gonna like take your breath away being transported and it set the tone of what the movie is. Like John Williams just owned that theme. And when they think of the themes with the Superman, they think of John Williams. It's the music that will continue to stand the test of time.
I mean, I think even so that James Gunn just like used a sample of it for
Yeah, because John Murphy is like taking that John Williams music and updating it into the modern day era, especially with the riffing guitar like in Top Gun Maverick style, then adding the orchestra at the end of the teaser trailer, making it like a triumph return to Superman in the form. Which, my God, I hope they one day re-release the original Superman movie just to get that experience being transported into the original film.
I'm sure they will eventually. I
I
mean,
mean, I no, I'm pretty sure they had done it like a couple of years ago, but I just missed it.
I mean,
I'm pretty
Superman
sure
1 is just such a classic movie.
Yeah,
I'm
for
pretty
sure.
sure it'll be like a Fathom event, like a 2 day kind of thing.
And especially when we cut to the planet Krypton and the way they were capturing the miniature models without, because this was before CGI even existed. They used the miniature model of the Krypton of the Ice Palace planet, and they played another music of John Williams, and it was another anthem. Like you're getting transported into a magical
Yeah, like,
planet. Dun, 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 dun. Oh my
which
God.
you know what that was. I think
I
the
literally listened to it on my Spotify playlist for the John Williams music and playing the Planet Krypton song from
like,
John Williams. Oh,
you know what? I'm not gonna lie. Whenever I listen to like the Tom Hardy theme, it makes me want to exercise. I'm like, matalo, bang, bang.
are you sure it's not the Eminem song Venom that makes
No,
you
I'm
want to
talking
work
about.
out?
You know, I'm talking about Bane. Like,
I know
you
I'm being
know,
fun. I know I'm
Bane
just being
makes me want to be
funny.
a rapper. Like Venom, like Venom. It makes me like, man,
Imagine Tom Hardy's Bane doing the rap song.
Oh
Just
dear Lord.
imagine that.
yo,
Dear
I'm
Lord.
gonna chase my Venom. No, it's a
I'm not gonna touch some Venom around
They
the
don't
Duke
know what
Destiny,
to hit
y'all.
Venom. You're just like, oh God. That's like, hey, I'm sure some AI person did that. I'm sure there's an
I'm pretty
AI
sure
doing that.
they will probably do that eventually, dude. It's a
But
matter of when.
I will say though, I think about this movie is like Kevin Feige uses this movie all the time when he's making a Marvel film. Every Marvel film, he makes the cast sit down and watch, and watch a Superman the movie and says, "Hey, we're gonna make our movies just like this."
But also with Superman the movie, this came out a year after the first Star Wars film. So John Williams was working on the orchestra music for Superman the movie, and when that first Star Wars movie was released in the cinema, that's just crazy. The time
John
when that
John Williams's 1978 was Steven Spielberg's 1993 because Spielberg had Schindler's List and Jurassic Park in the same.
Oh yeah.
But
Which
I love
I think.
I love how
Sorry.
Krypton looks here. Watching Smallville especially, Like I just love how it almost kind of feels like a natural kind of connection there. There's it's very crystal based, so I did appreciate that, but I love how it feels tangible. You touch it, ooh, it rises up and they grab it. Like I love
They use the crystals as as their machines to
yeah.
access Kryptonian technology. And it looks like that when you're going inside the fortress or Krypton, it almost feels like you're being transported to the Emerald City of the Wizard of Oz, if you really look back and think about it.
I also like how like they have like everybody's just wearing tinfoil.
Yeah, even though back then it
I
probably would
love
not fly
that.
today, but they were wearing foils back then.
It's
Like,
just like
oh,
LED lights and tinfoil, and I'm like, okay.
I was
we'll go with
personally
that. We wanted to be a little bit more alien. Like, we'll go along with that.
I was
Like,
personally thinking to myself, why does everyone look like they're on the set of the original Tron?
or you know what I was thinking? I was like, M. Night Shyamalan watched this movie and said, you know what? There goes a plot for the Sixth Sense, or not Sixth Sense, but Signs.
Yeah,
But
but with Smallville, they've done this from the start that to try to connect it to honor the homage to the Richard
I
Donner
know.
Superman. Ever since with Christopher Reeve guest starred on the show in season 2, when we see the passing of the torch playing the John Williams music, that's when like, hey, we're gonna take and borrow things from the Richard Donner Superman to try to honor to the original film.
What did you think about Chris like the destruction of Krypton? Like I thought it was great how like the Krypton
Dude,
just
that was
shit.
so terrifying. Watching all
The
these
extended cut
people
is more gruesome. The
it made
extended
it
cut
more
is way
realistic. They made the destruction more realistic on set. Like everyone falling into the in space, boom, blows up. How much they were able to pull off the visual effects is outstanding.
I'm like, I can see why they cut it down. I was like, oh, this is like a family movie. We want to make it hopeful. We don't want to
Oh
see a
no,
bunch
they
of
did
little.
not hold back on the body count because back in the day they were able to not hold anything back with the body count, especially
Yeah.
if it's a PG movie.
Which I really, I think Christopher Reeves. You know, I like how they do his origins. Like, you know, and I could see you could tell where Smallville kind of took inspiration because they do
Yeah.
his origins. They do first they do the him crashing landing, and then they do the baby. Then of course they do him as an adult, you know, as a teenager, and then of course you know they do his dad dying, and then like you know him going to the fortress. And I do at first I was thinking, okay, this is dumb. They just go to the fortress and like he's just an adult. Christopher Reeve flies away. I'm like, no, what it is it shows you time goes through. Time
They showed you that it
learns
was 12
everything
years that
he
passed
learns.
as Jarrell was teaching him
Yeah.
lessons about the planet and other galaxies and what's going on Earth, helping to understand his abilities and what's affected from the Earth's sun, and said like 12 years had passed.
I was just gonna say, seeing Lana Lang as a redhead, I was just like, oh dear God, I hope they don't have a 5 year on again, off again relationship. But
We're
but it does,
on a break.
but but it doesn't last too long. And one thing
No.
that I want to just completely bury right here and now with this series is like it's become a meme of like how like Superman, like how is he disguised when he just wears glasses? There's more to it than that. Christopher Reeve does a really great job of making Superman and Clark Kent two very distinct people. Because let's be completely honest, Clark Kent is kind of a bitch in this movie. Like, let's not get that twisted.
Isn't that the point? But that's the
He
point. He's
faints.
supposed to be.
He pretends to faint at a gunshot, and like he catches it, like Superman catches it.
I'm sorry, Lois. I just fainted. Sorry.
Oh, just well,
So, like,
Yeah,
it's not.
because the whole point of his Clark Kent disguise. I'm sorry if I'm cutting you off. The whole point of his disguise is not just putting on the big magic glasses and oh suddenly they're gonna fool everybody. No, he has to change his behavior, his body movement, and make him look like a bumbling little bitch nerd, mild mannered reporter. And then when he takes off that glasses, he turns it on at an instance when he's Superman that he's just good, confident, strong, like a superhero. That's the whole point of the Clark Kent disguise. And what
unlike a
Christopher Reeve
certain
did was
Superman.
perfect, especially when you see in the scene when he goes to Lois's house as Clark Kent, and when she's in the other room, he takes off the glasses and he just now he stands up straight and he's slouching when he has that glasses on, and you
You
can
know,
see the body movement and how it transforms.
you know who I actually was thinking? I was thinking like, you know, he actually does come off better. Anyone that can emulate, make you think that they're two different people with or without glasses, that's actually good. I mean, that's one thing I had an issue with Henry Cavill's Superman is he's Superman with or without the glasses. With the glasses, he still talks the same. He looks the same. I'm like, nobody knows this is
Yeah,
Superman.
they
He
didn't.
has
Yeah,
the
Zach.
same
Yeah, I'm gonna have to
hairstyle
put.
even.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to put that on Zack Snyder's fault for not able to capture the Clark
The
Kent
German.
disguise as two different dualities of the character.
He doesn't have a disguise. He's literally Superman. I'm like, if everybody in the building must be an idiot if they don't realize this is Superman. Like literally, Jimmy Kimmel even made fun of that, saying like,
Oh, of course, and that was the whole skit in that
"Hey,
Batman
you're
v Superman during
Superman." He
the.
goes, "No, I'm not."
I love that.
He
That
goes,
was
"Yes, you are, the glasses."
dude. That skit was great. That was perfect. The way that Jimmy Kimmel did that and made fun of that Clark Kent disguise, and even Bruce Wayne's Batman made it so obvious, and he's the only one who calls out the obvious.
I'm just saying that made me laugh so hard because this was like, it's true. It's so true. Look at
I mean,
him.
even I will say that even
He was
Tyler
wearing
Hoechlin, even Tyler Hoechlin and Superman and Lois did pull off the Clark Kent disguise, but he still looked the same, and he
I
wasn't
know
able,
that's
like it
not
was
the
like
issue.
I mean he did the best he could, but the problem is he looks the same. He just has the glasses on, and he still looks the same.
Putting glasses on and then doing that. At least with Dean Cain, they actually slicked his hair back.
Yeah,
So whenever he had
even
like his
Brandon
hair,
Routh, even Brandon Routh in Superman Returns, he looks
yes.
like a complete different person.
Like even I would say even the animated series, they did the same thing where it's like he's a handsome guy from Superman, and I'm like, in what world? What world?
Did you see My Adventures with Superman, the animated show, the one of the recent animated series, My
I
Adventures with
watched like
Superman?
one or two episodes.
Oh, dude, you
One
got to
was like
finish.
getting
Well,
so
you will
nuts.
definitely finish the rest of it. It's even season 2 is a banger show. But even that version with Jack Waite's Clark Kent was much better and more believable.
Like
And
he
now
was
with
ordering
David
like a bunch of
Cornsweet,
donuts.
but now we're seeing David Cornsweet in the teaser trailer of his Clark Kent
He's
disguise.
got like the he's
Perfect. That
got
was
like
a
a
perfect
mullet.
disguise.
Yeah, he's got like the
Yeah,
mullet.
he has that like mutton in the front of it, in the front of his head and of the hair, and it looks so curled, and he looks bumbling. He looks like completely a different person. If you pass him down the street, you wouldn't even look twice.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's like things like I remember watching Split and James McAvoy whenever, like, you know, what he actually like from when you could like tell there was something else like that he kind of Superman this role when he was playing like the split personality as a guy with glasses on named
Hmm.
Dennis. And
Yeah.
then whenever like you could tell you're like, oh, what personality like because he made it so acting is so good that whenever he did this scene where he was like, even though he had no glasses on, you're like, oh my God, that's Dennis. That's Dennis's personality. Because the way his acting ability made you
Yeah, his
believe.
acting ability, his body movement, and his tone of voice is what, and his behavior
Yeah, he
is
did the
what makes it
Superman thing. I
believable.
remember saying
He's
he did
literally
the
putting,
same.
and Clark Kent is literally putting on a fucking Oscar performance.
And I think, yeah, because it's like, you know, Christopher Reeve literally made you believe he's just a nerdy little bitch. And so Superman
Yeah,
is just like this
as
monster.
long as you keep yourself invisible and stay low on the radar, people would not look twice that you're
By
Superman.
the way, you know Halle Berry's Catwoman tried to do the same thing where they made Catwoman like she's like Superman by day, but then at night, or no, she's like patient, she's like Christopher Clark Kent by day, and like, oh hey, I'm not patient.
Wasn't no? Are you talking about the one in Batman Returns? Because that's what Michelle Pfeiffer
No.
did. That's
They
exactly what
also Halle Berry, yeah, Halle Berry
Michelle
did the
Pfeiffer
same
was
thing.
literally playing the Clark Kent version in that movie, Batman Returns.
Well, I mean, but to be fair, in Batman Returns, she actually had some like crazy moments. Like, for instance, she goes, "It was a blur." I remember falling down. And this guy, he says he from third grade, he's dead now. Like, I remember like moments like that where I'm just like, that is literally. But you know,
I mean, I have seen the movie with
I'm
Halle
sorry.
Berry Catwoman, but I don't remember much because I want to forget all about that movie.
But I'm
Even
saying like they tried to
existed.
do like everybody's tries to do the whole, oh hi, I'm such a nerd.
I know,
Oh,
I know.
oh.
They always
And
play out
then
the whole trope, like they're trying to carbon copy off of Christopher with the Clark Kent disguise in superhero movies. Like, really? Do we really have to continue that trend? Stop
like
being a little bit more original.
I mean, even what was that one movie that just came out, Dog Man? Didn't they even try to copy that too?
Yeah,
I never seen Dogman.
Like I remember, I remember like somebody's telling me, "Oh, Dog Man's just basically Superman but with a dog."
I I
Oh
work in a
yeah. Oh,
library.
I know that movie came out, but I didn't watch it yet. I have it on VOD that my brother bought in my digital library. I was like, wait, why'd you buy that movie? For the kids or something? I guess.
I liked, and it was pointed out in the Superman documentary that we got last year. It's the scene where Superman and Clark Kent have to be in the same place at the same time. It just showed that Christopher Reeve was not just a one-trick pony. Like he was bringing it all kinds of dimensions. And even in this movie, he could be corny, he could be serious. The scene where Lois dies, I mean, die, and it's undone with the woo, 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 woo. We'll get to that. But the face he makes where he's like, ah, and just like he flies away. I'm just like,
Bro.
Yeah,
That was
that was
my favorite part of the movie that gave me chills because if I think that the whole reverse in time was a little bit of studio interference that they didn't want it to go too dark and have Lois Lane die off at the end of the movie, that one that he cannot save. But I thought that would have worked so well, but I get why they wanted to like do the cop out time travel thing. But I thought that scene itself was so dark, and like the campiness and the fun stuff was over from the moment that Lois died in his arms, and him screaming in fucking like pain and rage and flies off was chills every time I watch it. And you don't even hear the music playing by the time it cuts to Clark. You hear a thunder and lightning, and it just gets you on the edge. And when imagine being in the theater, everybody was silence and not talking over it. I loved it. I love that scene. It was so good.
I
And
mean,
did you notice that he was flying in the sky and there's a cloud and you see Jarrell's face in that shot of the movie? Have
I
you
was
noticed
kind of
it?
laughing. I was laughing at that
I
because
did not notice it when I watched it years ago, and
it
I don't
remind
know if it's because of the remastered version trying to alter that and added that in later. I don't know. I don't know if it was always there.
it reminded me of the Lion King, though. Remember who you are.
Remember who Simba. Remember who you
you
are.
know, what I love. Can we also talk about how Lex Luthor is portrayed in this movie? Gene Hackman's.
Yeah, Jane Hackman's
I was
performance. Yeah,
just
he was really
about to.
good. I mean, he's not really the more like comic book Lex Luthor. He's playing more of a con
Of a
man, but
con
Gene
man.
Hackman, a con man Lex Luthor, not a billionaire Lex Luthor. But he played it off so well, and it was because, dude, it's Gene Hackman. Michael Rosenbaum got an autograph. He got an autograph from Gene Hackman from the poster of Superman the movie, and he has it up on his wall when he was
Yeah.
doing his podcast for Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum, and while he was doing Talkville, and he considers him as the best Lex.
I think what's so great about Hackman's though is, I think really what it is. I like how he's not trying to be campy. He's just like his plan is. He's literally like, oh, I am poor and I'm gonna grow. I'm gonna become a billionaire. My plan is I'm gonna shoot nuclear weapons, cause nuclear war, and then basically whenever that land, I'm gonna basically own all that land, and in that land,
Yeah,
the
because he's
whole
going to take
world.
those twin nuclear missiles that they were testing, the military was testing on, and take and just dump it inside some different continent because he wants to build land. He wants to have his own land, his own real estate scheme,
Yeah.
basically.
In which, you know what, I could see what his plan is because
I mean,
it's kind of similar to
I mean,
Magneto's plan in
I don't
X-Men
think it would have worked today because, like, come on, let's
It's
have
a
the
real
more
estate
faithful
scheme. It is
real
a
estate
real
scheme.
estate
That's
scheme.
literally his goal is the real estate scheme. He wants to take over lands. That's literally what his plan is. He has no grudge against
He does the
Superman.
same
He
thing
just
in Superman
he has no
Returns.
grudge against him. He has no grudge against Superman. He just wants him out of the way. That's it. Because he knows he's
Which
going to stop him.
the funniest thing I did laughed at was whenever they're literally the trucks. They stop for the trucks to the and you got Larry Hagman from Dallas is there, sir. So man, I got this, man. And then they're changing it, and Otis is like he's sweating, and he goes, I did the number, and he goes, what? All right, and he says 427. He's like, what'd you just say?
And another one is 7. You want to see a
He
real
said, "Where's that
long
going?"
arm? Otis,
Hackensack,
you want to
New
see a really
Jersey.
long arm?
I'm so sorry, Mr. Lex. He goes, you idiot. Not gonna go back
But it was a
to
fun. It was a campy moment, and Gene
He
Hackman
was
knows how to
back.
deliver the campiness and the humor, especially with Otis being more of the bumbling imbecile comic relief in this movie. And it was so fun, but they're dynamic. I mean, even though that today it
Yeah.
would definitely not work, and we would
Well,
definitely
Otis is in Man of Superman.
we accepted it, but we accepted it back then because this was in the late 70s. This not everybody knew Lex Luthor is.
Yeah, but the funny part, Otis is in Superman 2025.
Oh yeah,
That
he is.
character.
No, you're right. He is in the movie.
And I'm just thinking, oh, I know there's gonna be some funny.
Well,
humor in
we know
Otis.
he's not going to play that same person that we saw in the
Otis, you
1978.
idiot.
And we already know from the teaser's standpoint that this is Lex Luthor, who is the more comic book accurate and more of the billionaire, playboy, philanthropist, and a genius, and something that he's not going to that you do not want to cross him when you come across with Lex Luthor from what James Gunn is describing.
Well, I will say with this, the Hackman's Lex Luthor, I love especially whenever he's telling Superman his plan, and then he goes, "It's going right here to the fault line in California," and then
It's kind of fun. And I think
that's
I think it's very funny. Bad guys always have to give their monologue and their exposition of their big evil plan.
Yeah, but what I love about when he's giving the line says this, where's the second one going? And then he looks at Otis and goes, Hackensack, New Jersey.
That's where Tess Mocker's mother lived. That's where her mother lives in there in Hackensack, New Jersey.
My mother lives in Hackensack, New Jersey, and then he just looks at her like, and
He's like,
and
it's like,
he,
okay.
he takes a cigar and he just goes, and
No, he didn't take his cigars. He just looked at his watch like,
oh, that's right. That was Spacey. That was Spacey. That says smoke, takes a cigar and goes, yes, like yeah. When she asked how many people are gonna, yeah. So I
We
guess
yeah,
don't
and
we
how he
don't
was able
say
to
that
trap
name.
him with,
We don't
oh yeah,
say
and
that
how,
name in this house until we get to Superman
why did
Returns.
you say that name? Why did you say that name?
But
you
I
know what
love
Michael Rosenbaum once did say? Michael Rosenbaum once said, he goes, because someone said, you're my favorite Lex next to Gene Hackman. And then he said, it'd been really funny if you would have said, my Lex Luthor is Kevin Spacey, okay? And he would have been, whoa, dude. He goes, that's a controversial take, but I respect
Dude,
it.
you like what that would have been canceled because everybody hates Kevin Spacey.
Yeah.
Because everybody hates, which I get it, understandably so.
well, it
All right,
consistently made me laugh whenever Lex would always go like scream at the top of his lungs, Miss Tasmaka! I'm just like
That's my guy!
at the top of his lungs. I'm just sitting here
He does
like
it well. I love it.
like this
uh,
woman doesn't deserve all of this.
I know. I was like, why is she getting dragged into the mud? What does she do? What does she have to do? She doesn't really have that much to do. Neither did Otis.
which to be
I
fair,
find it
Lex,
very, but also I find it very funny in that scene when he was going looking at the map and showing him what his plan is, and it just add Otisburg,
Otisburg.
Otisburg, Otisburg.
He's like, he looks at him like
He draws it on the fucking Sharpie marker on that map.
Because I thought maybe Mr. Luther that we could have some
The
plan.
Mr. Marker has this.
No,
Mr. Luthor. I just love how he says Mr. Luthor.
It always reminds me of, I don't know if y'all seen the animated Hercules movie,
Yeah, yeah.
where like Lex is Hades, and basically the Phil and Lil, or Phil, the two
Yeah,
demons
he
are
is Hades.
basically-
Yeah,
the
pretty
two
much.
demons are basically Otis.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I can
yeah.
I can definitely imagine. You
He's
mean
just looking at him
if he finds out? Oh yes, this is good.
if Lex finds out.
If he finds out.
I just imagine Miss Tessmacher and like Otis playing like if he finds out, if Lex finds out, yes.
Isn't Tessmacher Meg in the Hercules movie? Because that's what it feels like. She's working with the madman.
I would say yeah. I would say more or less yeah.
Except that he's not the love interest.
Yeah. I will say one thing I do like also, especially because Miss Tessmacher saves Superman in the end, which after Lex and them are going to go watch his plan unfold, and then his Tessmacher saves them. So then, and not in the theatrical cut, but in the extended cut that I saw, like the 3-hour version,
Mm-hmm.
Lex tries to kill Miss Tessmacher. He's sitting there playing the piano, and then Otis is crying because he's trying to feed her down because he has like piranhas down there. He has piranhas down there in the elevator shaft. And he's like, I'm so sorry, Miss Tessmacher. He goes, Otis, will you hurry up? She goes, Otis, please, Otis. And he goes, I'm so sorry. And he goes, hurry up. And Lex is playing the piano, just singing, trying to tune out her death. And then all of a sudden, he's like lowering her to clothes. Otis, if you do not hurry up and drop her, I'm going to drop you next. So she goes, he's like, I'm sorry. And then all of a sudden he drops her. And then all of a sudden Superman swoops down and pulls her out. And then he goes, your mother, because she made a deal with him, says, would you save my mother? I'll save you if you save my mother in Hackensack. And he goes, your mother says hi, by the way. And then Lex Luthor is just like looks at the piano and he's just like not happy.
Was this at the end of the movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured because I didn't remember much of the extended cut. And there's a scene in the movie when Superman goes into Lex's lair. There's in the hallway. There's a bunch of booby traps that he set out for him, trying to demonstrate of what can kill him, and nothing can kill him. Shooting bullets of him, shooting machine guns, flames, shooting ice at him. Nothing was going to work. And they cut that out in the theatrical cut of the movie. And they add that footage in the Superman 2, the theatrical cut when he was losing his powers, and they showed a stock footage of it.
Also, it's one thing I also thought was dumb was the voiceover of Margaret Kidler whenever he's flying with her, and she goes, "I will always love
Can you read
you.
my mind? Can you read my mind?"
That was the dumbest thing
that
ever.
was something we could have done without it. You could have taken that out; it wouldn't have changed anything. I think that was a little too cheesy. And it did feel, and also the scene when they were flying together, it almost felt like Aladdin, like a whole new world. If only they played a whole new world song. This is before, and this is before Aladdin, so I'm pretty sure Aladdin took notes from that movie.
Ron Clements was taking furious notes.
I also like the fact is whenever he saves the helicopter sequence, I thought that whole sequence was great. Him saving
Oh,
the
that was so
helicopter.
dope. And the way he was pulling out that off his shirt and looking the Superman logo as he's chasing around. The one funny scene that was so hilarious when he was going to the phone booth, because in generally comic books and I believe in animation and shows, he always changes in the phone booth, and there's no room in that phone booth. He
Yeah.
just looks and just runs in the other way and spins around as he's changing into the suit, which that was pretty cool.
Ryan Reynolds made fun of that when Deadpool
He
2, the teaser
did.
for
This
Deadpool
was
2,
this was a
where he's
Deadpool
getting dressed in
short.
the phone booth and all
Yeah,
of a
this
sudden
was
the
a
guy gets
Deadpool
shot.
short when they were showing the movie Logan, and they were showing it right in front of
Yeah.
Logan, and he was changing in the phone booth, and how much it took him like 10
He's trying
minutes.
to change.
It changed in the phone booth for 10 minutes, and it played the John Williams movie like none of my watch, motherfucker.
It's like, and then he's like, first he got there, here's and gets shot. He goes, and then he goes, zip it, Stanley. Stanley's right there. Zip it.
I never
And
thought I was gonna laugh this much. I feel like they did that on purpose just to get
he
people
goes, I should have
laughing.
called the
But
police.
before you go into Logan, that's gonna be more gritty and more serious and sad. Like you better get some lot of laughing because you're not gonna be laughing in Logan.
I just laugh so hard at that scene, especially whenever he's like laying next to he sees the guy's ice creams on the floor. He's like, sitting on his dead body going, personally, I should have probably called the police. Really, I really honestly should have. Second,
Yeah, I
like,
should have.
who, where's the,
Who the?
the
He
fucking
was like,
phone booth?
he's like, who the fuck changes in the phone booth?
I just thought that was so funny. I also really liked him saving Air Force One. That was really great. Him and saving the cat and everything. Showing it's like a montage that Sam Raimi would later recuperate in
Yeah,
Spider-Man.
yeah, because
But
he
him doing
definitely,
a
yeah, same.
montage
It's
of
a,
saving.
it's trying to show you the origin story of Superman, and then as he's Superman, they show you a montage of his saves, kind of like every other superhero origin story. But yeah, I agree that the cat saving and the plane, the Air Force One plane was pretty dope. And I had to disagree that I thought the effect still holds up. I don't think it
I
looks a
do
little too
too.
campy,
I mean,
and
to be
especially
fair, a
when it's
lot
not
of
using
it,
CG.
a green screen, a lot of the green screen looks a lot better. Like to me, I
Oh
would
yeah,
take him
especially
flying
when
on
it
a
was
green
shot on
screen
film.
over MODOK any day.
Especially when it was shot on film and back in the late 70s.
Yeah. If you give me, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not lying. I would rather have Christopher Reeve flying on a green screen over MODOK from Ant-Man Quantumania any day.
Oh.
With Clark Kent, do you think that like I like the fact that he doesn't get the girl at the end and like he's still like, like this is like there's a lot of parallels to this movie and Sam Raimi's Spider-Man because Sam Raimi took a lot of notes from this movie where it's like Peter Parker, Clark Kent, you got Daily Planet, Daily Bugle, and there's a lot of stuff that's parallel.
Daily Bugle, that was already done in comic books with their
Yeah.
real city, and as their DC world, they make fake cities, fake news report, and all that stuff. Like that was done in comic books long before Sam Raimi
Yeah,
came
but to
along.
be fair, they do have also the Mary Jane aspect of it, where at the end he doesn't get with Mary Jane, just like at the end of Superman he doesn't get with Lois
Well, that was
Lane.
yeah, for the different circumstances that's just something they just didn't want to force the love story right away and have them end up being together by the end. This one in Spider-Man, he just couldn't do it because he wanted to protect her,
Yeah.
and he didn't want to be in the relationship with her because he doesn't want to take that burden on her.
I will say, I just think that Gene Hackman. I also hated the fact that he didn't want to shave his head. Like he really,
I thought he already shaved his head by the end of the
No.
movie.
It was a wig.
No, he wore a wig at the end of the movie, but I think in the earlier when they were shooting the film, when he had the hair, the wig on, but that was his real hair. And when you saw the shot of him at the end when he was getting carried by the prison, you could tell he's literally wearing a wig as he's pulling off his head. That was like that looked fake. The earlier shot of the movie, it looked more real.
Do you know he had a mustache, and him and Richard Donner argued over the mustache because he says he didn't want to shave his mustache, and so Richard Donner then wore a fake mustache around and was like, "Look, I'll tell you what, I'll shave my mustache if you shave your mustache." And so he shaved his mustache, and then Richard Donner just pulls his fake mustache off.
Was that a practical joke or something?
No, because he said he needed him to shave his mustache, so he says, "I'm gonna play the same fucking game he does." And so Richard Donner just wore a fake mustache, and he just walk around with a fake mustache and just be like, "Look, I need you to shave." He goes, "I'll shave my mustache if you shave your mustache." He goes, "Deal." And then Richard Donner just goes, he's like,
Richard Donner's pettiness is somewhat admirable, but let's come to a close here. And on my scale, I'm giving this movie an amazing grade. There's some parts of it that, like effects wise, that I don't think have aged tremendously well, but there's a heart to this movie that was never really captured again. And I will love Man of Steel and defend Man of Steel to my dying breath. I think that movie is quite good, and we'll get to that when we get to that. but I still feel like this movie, in a lot of ways, is timeless. Like they based an entire TV show around this. Like this movie walked so Smallville could run in certain ways. And so I feel like this being the standard bearer, like it makes total sense. So like when people say this is the best Superman movie, I'd say, yeah, I totally get it.
It's a perfect movie. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think anybody here is gonna say it's horse shit, you know? I
I mean,
mean,
There
unless
will
look
be
you're like
people out there that will say that. There will
unless
be
you're
people
like
out there that will.
confused Matthew or something, but I digress.
or you're like one of those Snyder bots that are just like, oh, this is shit, Richard Donner's shit, Zack Snyder's
But
perfection, which
But,
I'm like,
but
come
even
on.
though I love this movie, it's one of the greatest superhero movies of all time, and it was the blueprint of the comic book genre that started it all
Yeah.
on the first superhero movie on the big screen. And without this movie, we wouldn't get any of this stuff today with Batman.
Oh, yeah.
Then with Marvel, with coming back to the fold. I mean, it was like same thing with Superman being invented as a comic book character. The first superhero in comic books was another blueprint. It's just a very parallel to in the medium.
Patty Jenkins has said that the first Wonder Woman movie was inspired by the Christopher Reeve Superman movie.
Yeah, she talked about that behind the scenes of the first Wonder Woman movie, how much she was
There's even a
inspired by it.
homage in the Wonder Woman in the
Oh
first
yeah,
Wonder
of
Woman movie
course.
where she dresses up like Christopher Reeve Superman catches the bullet. That's literally in the first.
Yeah, and when she's dressed up as a disguise, the Clark Kent disguise
Yeah.
style, she did that in the Wonder Woman movie, which I thought that was cute. At least it was more subtle than not forced. It fit into the story and it made
Yeah.
sense. And they did it well. And that's all. I'll give credit where it's due. But yeah, this is definitely one of the greatest ones that I've seen. And yeah, maybe it's just us being a little bit of nostalgia because we grew up watching that movie. Maybe that's the case, but I don't give a shit. It was still great. That was still will stand the test of time. Then people look back on it and say, like, dude, Christopher Reeve was a perfect Superman.
I mean, he was. I mean, he literally was. You felt like, watching like this is Clark Kent, this is Superman. And I mean, to be fair, he was literally like truth, justice, in the American way. That was
Or Better
literally
Tomorrow, or whatever the hell it is that they want to call it now today. But anyway, but yeah, going back to with him doing the saves, you can tell that he really loves saving people and he enjoys what he does. He like you can tell how much he really loves being Superman and helping helping out the little people. And then the way that they ended the movie, going flying off into space, and him staring at the camera, doing the fourth wall breaking and cracking the smile, that was everything. It could have been so dumb and campy, but it was great the way he did the charmed smile at the end of the movie as he's flying off in space.
So are you
Well,
gonna? What's your score, Matt?
Oh yeah, it's definitely a 10. It's
Yeah,
a 10 out of
10 for
10.
me too.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
We're simpatical.
we pass it off to all of you. What did you think of Superman 78? Let us know in the comments. Aaron White, please keep it to 5 paragraphs. Please do not break my YouTube app. But uh, like I said, this is going to be a monthly series, so this is it for February, and for March, we're going to be getting to the brilliant mess that is Superman 2. But we'll get to that when we get to that. But Jacob Collins, where can the people find you?
3D Movie Cinema at YouTube.com. And this Friday, we got Batman and Mr. Freeze Sub-Zero. That's where you will find me this Friday. And Small Talk every Tuesday. And so, yeah. I mean, that's where you guys are going to find me. And that's it.
Yeah, check out Batman Terry. It's always a lot of fun. But Matt Wyatt, what do you have coming up?
Well, I got Captain America Brave New World on my YouTube channel, and you can find me at MattY92. I got I got a couple of videos that I will be reviewing. I got a 2 review roundup for 2024, Nosferatu and A Complete Unknown, and another 2025 movie that came out recently on Apple TV. I'm going to review the Gorge.
Yep, stay tuned for all of that. And stay tuned for all the content coming up here. It's going to be a great year for the channel. I mean, it is already, but it will be going forward. And stay tuned with us on the road to James Gunn's Superman. For Jabe Collins, for Matt Wyatt, my name is Ryan Cam. I almost said for Truth or Justice for the American Way, but that's a completely different show. But my name is Ryan Cam. We will see you all in the next one. Y'all take care.